According to all the evidences presented, one thing is clear: whatever happened at the site was not an accident but a pre planned murder. Therefore, after 5 long years of judgment, today, on 26 August, the court finds Mr. Jung-suk and his son Mingyu guilty under Article 250, 125, and 138 for murder, violence, and contempt of court, and sentences them to life imprisonment. Vian, who stood there wearing her black coat, finally felt some peace wash over her. After years of struggling after that incident, she was able to give justice to her husband. The court is adjourned. The judge stood up after hitting the hammer against the desk twice. Vian closed her eyes as a single tear rolled down. She fell on her knees. People started exiting. She could hear her father's threat, but it didn't bother her anymore. She sobbed, hiding her face in her hands. The room was soon empty. Vian's sobs were echoing through the room. Soon she heard someone clapping from behind. With teary red eyes and puffed face, she turned around only to find Taehyung. She whispered to herself, looking at the male standing with a smile. He walked closer. I'm so proud of you, my love, Tae said, sitting on his knees beside her while cupping her cheeks. Taehyunga. Vine desperately reached out to hug him only for him to disappear. She looked around in confusion but heard a voice from her surroundings. Vian, my love, you're such a brave lady. I feel so lucky to be called as your husband. Thank you for not giving up on me. I'll see you again someday. Until then, within your sight. This was the last thing she heard before everything went silent until she saw a little girl running towards her. The little girl hugged Vian tightly. The sun shone brightly through the windows of Vian's cozy living room, casting a warm glow over the familiar surroundings. Vian sat in her favorite armchair, a cup of steaming tea cradled in her hands. Her gaze was distant, lost in memories of a time long gone. As she sat there, the gentle breeze rustled the curtains, carrying with it the faint scent of flowers from the garden outside. Van closed her eyes, letting the memories wash over her like a soothing wave. She remembered the days when she was young and carefree, when life seemed full of endless possibilities. She thought of Taehyung, her beloved husband. Van could still see his smiling face, his eyes sparkling with mischief and love. She remembered the way he used to make her laugh, the way he held her close on a winter night, whispering words of love and comfort. Tyla, their daughter, now 24 years old, and a splitting image of her father, was a constant source of joy and pride for Ryan. She had grown into a strong and independent woman with a kind heart and a fierce spirit. But on this sunny day, Ryan's thoughts were consumed by memories of Taehyung. She remembered the way he used to dance around the kitchen, singing off key to their favorite songs. She remembered the late night conversations they used to have, sharing their hopes and dreams for the future. A single tear slipped down Ryan's cheek as she thought of all the moments they would never get to share. The milestone in Tyla's life that Taehyung would never witness, her graduation, her first job, her wedding. But despite the sadness that lingered in her heart, there was also a sense of peace. Ryan knew that Taehyung would always be with her, watching over them from wherever he was. She could feel his presence in the sunlight that filtered through the windows, in the laughter of their daughter, in the love that surrounded them. Opening her eyes, Ryan set down her teacup and stood up, the memories of the past giving her strength to face the present. Tyla burst into the room, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she plopped down beside her mother. Mom, you won't believe the surprise I have planned for your birthday tomorrow, she exclaimed, her voice filled with enthusiasm. Ryan's smile widened as she listened to Tayla's animated description of the decorations, the cake, and the presents she had meticulously arranged for the special day. She watched her daughter with pride, marveling at the woman she had become, so full of life and love, just like her father. As Stella paused for a breath, Ryan reached out and gently squeezed her hand. Thank you, sweetheart. Your father would have been so proud of you, she said softly, her voice tinged with nostalgia. With Tayla's help, Vine stood up from her armchair, her aging body moving with a grace that belied the weight of years. Together, they walked over to a cupboard in the corner of the room, a place that held a treasure trove of memories that Vine rarely shared with anyone. With trembling hands, Vine opened the cupboard and carefully retrieved a dusty old diary and a few faded photographs of Taehyung. She held them close to her chest, feeling the weight of his absence pressing against her heart. Tyla watched her mother with a mixture of sadness and understanding, knowing that these mementos were all she had left of her father. She reached out and wrapped her arms around Ryan, offering silent comfort in the face of such profound loss. As Tyla excused herself for a moment to check on something in the kitchen, Ryan was left alone with her thoughts and memories. She traced the worn pages of the diary with trembling fingers, tears welling up in her eyes as she read the words of love and longing that Taehyung had penned down so many years ago. Only because of you, I was able to become a successful lawyer. Still remember the date. 26 August was the day you got justice. I hope I made you proud. I will see you soon, my love. She kissed the photo tenderly. Lost in a reverie, Vine didn't notice when Taylor returned to the room. The young woman stood in the doorway watching her mother with a mixture of loss and sorrow, knowing that the pain of losing Taehyung still lingered in Vine's heart. And then, in a moment that seemed to stretch on for eternity, Taylor saw something change in her mother's expression. A peaceful smile spread across Vian's face, softening the lines of age and sorrow that marked her features. Taylor's heart clenched in fear as she rushed forward, calling out to her mother, but it was too late. Vian had slipped away from this world, leaving behind a legacy of love and memories that would never fade. Taylor knelt beside her mother, tears streaming down her cheeks as she held Vian's lifeless hand in her own. She looked into the peaceful face of the woman who had raised her with such strength and grace, feeling a deep sense of loss wash over her. In that moment, surrounded by echoes of a love that transcended time and space, Taylor knew she would carry on her parents' legacy, their love, their strength, their resilience in everything she did. As she sat there, cradling her mother's hand in hers, Ayla made a silent vow to never forget the love that has shaped her life. To honor the memory of her father and the spirit of her mother in all that she did. And as she wept for loss of one parent and the enduring love of another, Taylor knew that even in death their bond would never be broken. It would remain a guiding light in her life, leading her through both joy and sorrow until they were united once more. She will forever cherish the diary, the photos, and the memories. This taught us that not every story has a happy ending, but that doesn't mean it's not worth telling. Something has to be incomplete in our life in order to make us understand life. And that's why sometimes we just have to let things go because that's what life is all about.